Dear students, good day. Today I am going to give some lecture on pattern. So, before understanding pattern, we will have to know that what is casting process, because this pattern is basically used in casting process. Basically, casting is a manufacturing process wherein first the metal is melted, then it is poured in a previously prepared mold cavity, then it is allowed to solidify, and after solidification the final product is taken out from the mold cavity. Now, the use of pattern is in the casting process that when the mold cavity, the mold is prepared, basically the pattern is kept in between the mold, and while making this mold there will be two flasks, that is on upper flask and on lower flask. The upper flask is called cope and the lower flask is called drag. So, this pattern, that is basically when making the mold, basically the open flask that is filled with some molding sand, then the pattern is kept and then it is rammed. So, once one flask is prepared, secondly another flask will be prepared and that will be kept one over the other, and in which there will be a gating system. The molten metal will be poured through the gating system and it will enter in the mold cavity through the runner and it will fill the mold cavity. Then it will be allowed to solidify. So, after solidification it will be taken out. So, when any product will be manufactured, a design will be there, for that there will be a particular shape and size. So, pattern is the replica of the desired shape. So, suppose our aim is to manufacture or produce a reversing gear. So, that is our final product. So, this is basically a pattern, this is the replica of that our final object, final product. Now, this pattern is made of wood. This has been made in this carpentry shop. Now, once we have cleared the idea or conception about pattern, and I am further reiterating it, that pattern is the replica of the desired shape. So, when the pattern will be making, so there will be some pattern material, basically wood, metal and plastic that are used to make pattern. Most commonly used material for making of pattern is wood, because it is easily available, it can be shaped easily, it is lightweight and it is easily available. So, in most of the cases we made pattern by wood. The disadvantage of the wood is that it absorbs moisture. So, when it absorbs moisture, there will be some deformation in the shape. So, this is the only disadvantage of the wood. Now, while making pattern, we will have to keep in consideration few allowances, because when the pattern will be made, that should have also some dimension and accuracy to achieve good dimension and good dimensional accuracy in our final product. So, what are the allowances that are given on the pattern? There are few allowances, that is your shrinkage allowances, your machining allowances, your wrapping allowances, your distortion allowances, draft allowances. So, the first and foremost important allowances is the shrinkage allowance, because when the molten metal will be poured in the cavity, so that is in the liquid form. So, when it will contract, that it will solidify, there will be the contraction in the volume, and that depends on the coefficient of linear expansion of that material. That is your, we can measure by the formula L alpha T. L is the dimension, alpha is the coefficient of expansion, and T is the temperature difference. So, when any material will be solidified, there will be some shrinkage, there will be some contraction. So, there will be the reduction in volume. So, that should keep in consideration while making in pattern, and keeping consideration of that allowance will make the pattern. Then there is a allowance, that is your machining allowance, because once the product is manufactured in the casting process and the molten metal is poured in the mold cavity. So, there is a contact between the molding sand and the metal. So, the surface may not be as smooth as required, and the dimension may not also be as properly as per our final product. So, there should be some machining allowance, so that the final product of casting can be trimmed or machined. So, that is the machining allowance. Next thing is the draft allowance. Draft allowance is that when there will be any product with the large dimension, so when we will have to move the pattern from the mold cavity, if the surface is the perpendicular, so it will, there will be some difficulty to take it off from the mold cavity. So, that is why your some taper portion will be there for the easily removal of the pattern from the mold, so that it do not damage the mold. Next is the distortion allowance. Distortion allowance is given for any typical shape or U shape section, V shape section, because in that case when it will be solidified, when there will be temperature difference, there may be a high chance to be distortion. So, we will put or added extra material in the distortion prone zone in the opposite side, so that the distortion can be prevented. So, that is your distortion allowance. Next is the shake allowance. When the pattern is kept in the sand mold, and after making the flux, after making the flux filled with sand, and after ramming, after giving it the shape, when it will be pick it up from the flux, there is needed to shake it. So, some ramming is done over this pattern, so that it can easily remove. So, there will be a gap between the adjacent area between the pattern and the molding sand. So, this is the basically negative allowance, because it will enlarge the dimension. So, that we will have to keep in consideration while making pattern. So, the summary of the allowances that put on the pattern is that while making pattern, we will have to keep in mind that we will have to, that there are few allowances like shrinkage allowances, like machining allowances, like distortion allowances, and your shake allowances. So, the dimension will be different from the final product, because here you have to put some extra dimension in the pattern from the final product. So, these are the allowances that should keep in consideration. Next thing is that there are different types of pattern. This pattern is made according to the requirement of the casting. So, there are different types of pattern according to the requirement. So, the types of pattern are like single piece pattern, split pattern, gated pattern, masquerade pattern, swept pattern. So, there are different types of pattern in casting process. So here few patterns has been shown here. Yes, this is basically your pattern for reversing gear. This is the piece, and over this piece has been, these are the separate piece which has been attached here. This is your wall bracket pattern. This is your pump valve. This is for your pipe bend. So different kind of pattern that has been shown here. Now next two three things are there, like core. So when we will make any pattern, if there is any hollow portion, then we will have to make some core. That is, that will be provided in the pattern, or it can be provided separately. That will be in the mold cavity, and there is core pin to support the core. Now the next point is that there are some color code for pattern. The advantage of color code is that the man who is performing the casting process, he will easily understand that which portion has to machine and which portion is not required any machining. So there are some few color codes here. Red or orange on surface not to be finished, yellow color on the surface to be finished, black on the core prints for unmachined opening, yellow strips on black on core prints for machine opening, green on sheets of and for loose pieces and loose core prints. So these are few color codes from where the person who is performing casting operation will be able to understand that which, after final casting, which parts have to machine and which part is not required to machine. So today up to this, thank you. Okay, now I am going to show you few pattern here. So here you can see that few patterns have been kept here. So this one is your reversing gear pattern. So you can see in this way. So this is your plumber block cap pattern. This is your wall bracket pattern. This is your pipe bend, and this is your pump valve. Dear students, good day. Today we are going to demonstrate and perform a job in this machine. So this is as per the job sheet number 305, and the title is making a cast iron gear with 10 DP and 20 teeth. Now here in this, if you go through this job sheet, you will see there are number of operation. There are 15 operation. So if we go according to the operation sequentially, then we will see that number 1, that in first case there will be a raw material, that is raw blank unfinished, that will be held in the chuck. Number 2, second operation will be that there will be the facing operation. That means if basically this is your gear blank in a finished position, so when this will be held in a chuck, so this portion will be machined, this surface will be machined, that is your facing operation. As you know from the earlier videos that what is facing operation. Next, as it has been inserted here, so there will be basically a hole making procedure by drilling. As you know that drilling is your hole making procedure, that is your operation number 3. Next operation is that boring. Boring is the operation to enlarge the hole. Then next operation is to rimming, that is to provide the good surface finish in the inner hole, that rimming operation is performed. Next there will be a turning operation over the surface to achieve the diameter as per the design, as per the requirement. So, and next operation is that the other face will also be in the other face there will also be facing operation. So, all these operations that will be performed in lathe. So, once this operation, machining operation is completed, we will get this gear blank, and now our objective or our aim is to perform your gear cutting operation in milling. So, here we are with the milling machine. So, before performing the milling operation, we will have to know that what is milling machine, what are the different parts, what are the operations that can be performed in the milling machine. Basically, after the lathe, the next versatile machine tool is the milling machine. So, here what will be done is that basically there will be a milling cutter, and against which a job will be fed, and against the and by this procedure there will be your milling operation. So, I will go into furthermore a little bit details after describing this machine. So, you can see this is a column knee type milling machine. So, this is the column, this is the knee, and in the below portion there is base. Basically, as the base will carry the whole load of this machine, so that is made of cast iron, because that can absorb high compressive load. Next you see that here this is the knee over which this table is mounted. Now, the beauty of this machine is that here the table can be moved in three direction, X, Y and Z direction. So, by rotating this wheel, the table can be moved in the longitudinal direction, and by rotating this wheel, basically this table will be this table that will go in the up and down position. So, this is in the Z axis, and by this removing this, rotating this key, by this table will give your in cross direction. So, we can avail the movement of this table in three direction. Now, next is this is the overhanging arm, wherein you can see there is a arbor on which a milling cutter is mounted. Now, in this portion, this is column. From that side you can see that there is a motor, and there are some gear arrangement by which the power can be transmitted, and this milling cutter will rotate. So, now in this milling machine, there are different type of milling operation that can be performed in this milling machine. Mainly there are up milling and down milling. So, when the job will fade against the rotation of the cutter, then that will be up milling, and an opposite direction, that is the milling cutter will move and the job will fade against the speed of the milling cutter, that is the up milling. And when the rotation of the milling cutter and the feed of the job will be the same, that will be the down milling. Before that, there is another milling operation, that is face milling, that if there is any uneven surface, that can be made as per the requirement, so that will move the that will make machining operation over the top of the surface. Now, there are also another type of milling, that is straddle milling, wherein there will be two milling cutter that will be spaced in such a way as per the requirement in the job. There is also gang milling, wherein the multiple cutter can be mounted over this arbor and the milling operation can be performed. So, these are the basic few things about that machine, its basic parts and few machining operation that can be performed in milling machine. Now, as per the job sheet, there is your number 11, there is the procedure to cut the teeth in this blank. So, in this machine, the operation which will be performed, that is milling operation, their gear cutting will be there. So, in gear there will be the teeth which is equally spaced, and that is adjusted, and that can be achieved by this your indexing method. So, that lecture will be delivered by Professor Abhishek Mondal. Thank you.
In the previous lecture, we have learned the different parts of a milling machine and the different operations can be performed on a milling machine. In this lecture, we will learn about the indexing. Basically, indexing is the operation by which we can divide the periphery of a job or workpiece into equal number of parts. Indexing has been done, or indexing can be performed using a special type of attachment called indexing head or dividing head. This is indexing head or dividing head. Indexing head generally three types. One is simple or plain indexing head or dividing head. Number 2, universal dividing head. Number 3, optical dividing head. This is a universal dividing head. Now, indexing head comprises of, this is crank pin, this is crank, this is sector arm, this is indexing plate having different number of circles and a worm and worm wheel. Now, this index crank is connected with the worm shaft, and a worm is mounted on this worm shaft, and a worm wheel having 40 teeth has been engaged with this worm. So, for a one complete rotation of the worm wheel, this index crank is connected with a worm shaft. A worm is mounted on this worm shaft, and this worm is engaged with a worm wheel having 40 teeth. Now, this index crank is connected with a worm shaft, where a worm is mounted over the worm shaft, and the worm is engaged with a worm wheel having a 14 teeth. This worm wheel is connected with a spindle over which a chuck has been mounted to hold the job. Now, this is index plate. So, for one complete rotation of this crank as well as the worm wheel will rotate 1 by 40 times, or for one complete rotation of the worm wheel, the crank or the worm will rotate 40 times. Now, if we want to cut a gear having 20 teeth, what will be our calculation? First, 40 divided by the number of teeth. Here the number of teeth is 20. So 40 divided by 20 is 2. So we will rotate this crank pin. We will rotate this crank pin 2 times after machining of one teeth. So after machining of the one teeth, we will rotate this crank pin 2 times. Again, after machining of the next teeth, again we will rotate the crank pin 2 times, and it will carry on. Okay. Now you can see এদিকটা ফোকাস করতে বলছি, এদিকটা ফোকাস করতে হবে, ঠিক আছে? ওই জায়গাটা জাস্ট ওটা করে এই জায়গাটা ফোকাস করতে বলছি, এই জায়গাটা এখানে হল। Now you can see here the different number of hole circles are there, maybe 33, 35, 39, 23. But when you fix the crank pin to a certain number of hole circles, you have to rotate the crank pin over this fixed number of hole circles. You cannot shift during operation whole circle from 39, suppose from 39 to 37 or maybe 23. You have to operate with a fixed number of hole circle during the complete machining of a gear. Now we have already discussed the machining of 20 teeth. Now if you want to cut a gear having 23 number of teeth, so what we will do? Again the formula will be same, 40 divided by 20 number of teeth. Here the number of teeth is 23, so 40 divided by 23 is 1 upon 17 by 23. Now what do you mean by 17 by 20, 1 upon 7? What do you mean by 1 upon 17 by 23? That means one complete rotation of the crank pin or the worm wheel, and the 17 by 23 times rotation of the crank wheel. Now how can you calculate this 17 by 23? See here the last term is 23, so we have to select the 23 hole circles, and after selecting the 23 number hole circles, we will complete the first rotation from a fixed point. After that, after completing the first rotation, then we will rotate up to 17 points of that same hole circles. We will, again I am repeating, again we will rotate the crank pin up to 17 holes of the same hole circles. So after completing this rotation, we will machine the gear teeth. So after machining, again we will move the crank pin 1 upon 17 by 23 times to rotate the job. After rotating, again we will machine the teeth, and the same operation will go on. Okay, this is the simple indexing mechanism. Okay, we have already discussed of how to cut a gear having 20 teeth. Now if you want to cut a gear having 30 teeth, so same formula will be applicable. 40 divided by number of teeth, here the teeth number is 30. So 40 divided by 30, that means 4 by 3, so equals to 1 upon 1 by 3. So what is 1 upon 1 by 3? 1 upon 1 by 3 means one complete rotation of the crankshaft, and again after completing one rotation of the crank, then again the crank will rotate 1/3 portion. But how do you rotate this crank 1/3 portion? For that see here the number of different whole circles 21, 23, 39, 41, a number of whole circles. So, we have 1/3. So, if we multiply 1/3 by 1 into 7 by 3 into 7, so we can get 7 by 21. So, the last term is 21. So, we can select the 21 number of whole circles. So, the crank pin will fixed at the 21 number of whole circles. So, first after machining of a one teeth, we have to fix this crank pin on a 21 number of whole circles, and after fixing we will rotate this crank pin one complete rotation from where the pin starts, and after rotation then from this point we will count in the forward direction or clockwise direction the again 7 points and fix it the crank pin. So, after rotation we can see the job will rotate and we will perform the machining operation. Again after performing this machining operation, again we will start the rotation of the crank pin from this end point, that means the point, the seventh point where in the previous turn we have finished. That means from where we will again count the one complete rotation. After one complete rotation again we will count the 7 points 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 7. Again we will fix the crank pin on that point and again we will do the job. So, after completion of machining of the second teeth, again we will rotate in the same manner of the crank pin and do the similar operation for completing the job. Okay, finish.